Hello everyone and welcome back to Prestige Reef. Today I'm going to take a break from doing the updates for you all to go to a local fish shop to see what stock they have on offer in comparison to what we have back home. I hope you enjoy it. There is one big downside to this though. Obviously I'm 10,000 miles away from my tank, so even if I wanted to buy something, I can't. It's essentially the same as someone on a diet going to a cake factory, if that cake factory requires you to have an import license to eat it. The shop I'm heading to is Reef Secrets on the Gold Coast. I've been to this store once before and it was one of the best shops I've ever been in. This visit didn't disappoint either. The shop was established 10 years ago by its owner Darren Hatfield, someone that really lives and breathes the hobby. As you enter, you're greeted by a stunning, well-established mixed reef tank, and it's clear that this isn't the average shop. Having been in the hobby for 10 years, I've seen my fair share of display tanks, and this is truly something special. What stood out to me the most was a 6-inch Recordia, and that wasn't the only nice one in stock either. One of the stock tanks had many which were around the 2 to 3 inch mark, a nice change to the 1/2-inch Recordias I see back home. The shop cater for every aspect of the hobby, as they stock everything from beginner corals to high-end SPS, clownfish to unusual predators, and even something more quirky like the jellyfish tank from Cubic Aquariums. The whole store was spotless, and it stocks a comprehensive range of dry goods. Many I'm familiar with, such as Aquaforest or Red Sea, while others I haven't seen before. The shop was very busy when I arrived, but when things did eventually slow down, I found Darren to be an incredibly knowledgeable, interesting man. If you ever get the chance, ask him about how he set up his first tank. He also informed me of the restrictions Australia puts on importing livestock. Importation of coral is completely banned, therefore every single coral in the shop was collected off the coast of Australia. With regards to fish, they are a little more relaxed, and some of the iconic species are allowed to enter the country. These regulations mean that some of the livestock which we take for granted back home are incredibly rare here. For example, I paid just £10 for my Harlequin shrimp, however a pair of them here sold for just over £1,000. The Yasha Goby is a similar story, where the one in the store was £1,500. The reason for this is because there is a very small area that collectors are able to take fish from, and Yasha Gobies aren't found in that area. How was it collected then? Every so often, either an individual or perhaps even a fertilised egg will be swept into the collection area, allowing the divers to catch one. It really does come down to incredible luck, and the opportunity to catch one can be years apart. This got me thinking, desirability due to how rare something is a matter of perception. You'd struggle to get me to pay £30 for a Harlequin shrimp, whereas someone here paid over £1,000 for exactly the same crustacean. Coral is exactly the same, where a small piece of forest fire Montipora could go for 10 times the price. So I ask you, would gem tangs still be more desirable than a purple tang if they were just as common and cost the same as a clownfish? I'm guilty of it myself. I've always wanted a black tang, a desire that literally makes no sense when you look at all the nicer fish we can choose from. If someone from outside the hobby had to put a value on a tank full of Zebrasoma tangs, I'd bet that no one would put the black tang as the second most expensive. That's because they would be judging the fish on how aesthetically pleasing they are, whereas we are valuing them on their prestige and rarity. Let me know in the comment section below, how do you decide what livestock goes in your tank? Once again, Darren was in popular demand with all the customers, therefore I preoccupied myself by perusing the coral trays. These are really something special. You would think that the import ban would have an impact on variety, but luckily for Australians, they have a wealth of coral on their doorstep. Although there were some larger colonies in stock, it was the Frag Tank which I enjoyed the most. There was a wide selection of frags, many of which had come from the store's display tank or even Darren's personal tank at home. The tank was clearly very healthy, with many corals encrusting over the plugs and onto the racks themselves. I know this tank consumes around 600 millilitres of alkalinity solution every day to keep the KH at 7.3. It was also interesting to see that it was lit by an ATI T5 fixture, while many of the other tanks had been converted to LEDs, such as the Ecotech Radions or these Kessel units. Something else they have to think about here is chillers. Whereas back home, heaters are an absolute necessity, it's quite the opposite here, where tanks are more likely to overheat than be too cold. Although some of the more common corals I'm used to seeing were missing, they did have an Australian substitute for many. For example, although I didn't see a barley green slimer, they have an almost identical Dallas Acropora in abundance. Having spent 2 hours in the shop, it was time to head home, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Darren and also the guy that works with him, Josh, who were both very accommodating for my visit. That's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give me a massive thumbs up. And until then, have a great week and I'll see you next time.